Welcome to Everyday Linux User, and this is Ubuntu 2404. So Ubuntu, you can get that from ubuntu.com. If you haven't heard of Ubuntu, where have you been? It is possibly the largest of the Linux distributions and the most famous, I would guess. To download Ubuntu, you can go to ubuntu.com, download desktop. You'll see the new features for 2404 here. There's a new installer, new app center. It's got the latest version of GNOME. The download is 6 GB, and if you want to follow along, you can follow along with me here. I'm using KVM as the virtual machine. So you pick your ISO image, you have to enter the distro. Now it only goes up to 2204. I'm using Debian, it might go up further on yours. I'm going to give it 8 GB of RAM and 4 cores, and then I'm going to create a virtual drive. So I just click plus here and then change that to 2404 and give it 25 GB. I choose the volume, click forward, change the name of the distro to 2404, and away we go. And this is Ubuntu loading, so you can try or install Ubuntu. I choose the first option and then you get to the setup screen. So you choose your language, then it's got some accessibility settings. You select your keyboard layout. And then you can choose to connect to the internet. Because I'm using a virtual machine, I'm just using wired. And you can choose to install or try Ubuntu. So I'm going to try Ubuntu at this stage. And you can see the resolution isn't quite right in the virtual machine, so I'm going to change the display settings, and you'll see how easy it is to use Ubuntu. You go into the display settings and you just up the resolution. If you install this to an actual machine rather than a virtual machine, it's likely to have picked the correct resolution to start off with. And so if I keep the changes, I'm going to reorganize the desktop slightly. And then we're going to install Ubuntu. So the installer starts the same way as it did before. So we're going to choose our language, pick from the list. Again, the accessibility settings, choose your keyboard layout, connect to the internet, and then you can choose between an interactive or automated installation. Most people will want the interactive. Automated is for system people who have to set up multiple systems, and you can choose a default selection of software, or you can go for extended selection. For this guide, I'm going to be choosing the extended selection. And then you can install third-party software and download additional media formats. You probably do want to do this. This will enable you to watch videos and listen to music in proprietary formats. Then it's setting up the disk, so erase and install because it's a virtual machine, and then you set up a username. So in this case, I'm going to call my machine Ubuntu 2404 and set a password and confirm that password. And then you choose where you are in the world. So I'm in the UK, and finally you're at the installation. So you can now install, and I'll skip the installer and take you to the end. And there you can see it's installed. All you have to do now is click restart. And you have to remove the drive. Now if you're on a virtual machine, you don't have to do that. And this is the first boot. Enter the password. And as you see, the display settings are wrong again, so we're going to quickly change those back to the desired settings. This is the last time you have to do this. It's only in a virtual machine that you have to do it. On an actual machine you probably don't have to. So here we are, we're at the initial welcome screen. We're going to click next on that. You can choose Ubuntu Pro. I'm going to skip that for now. You can enable it. It's free to join for 5 devices. And you can see it gives you security updates until 2034 and certain other things. You can choose to help improve Ubuntu. I'm not going to do that, and then it enables you to open the Start Center to add more applications, but I'm not going to do that yet. And I'm just going to rearrange the home button into the bottom right hand corner, and we're good to start. So let's look at hardware. I've put in a Wi-Fi dongle, and you can see that Wi-Fi is available. So the next thing to try is Bluetooth, and we go to the Bluetooth settings, and shortly it'll find my device, and I connect to the device and everything's okay. And now we're going to go to my YouTube channel, and we're going to play a few seconds of the YouTube video to prove that the Bluetooth is working correctly. Welcome to Everyday Linux User. In today's video we're going to be talking about PC Linux OS. Next thing to set up is the printers, so you can go down to the apps here and we just search for printers, and we click on printers, and then we can add one. It doesn't find it automatically, probably because I'm in a virtual machine. In fact, because it's network printer, I have to type in the IP address. You see no printers found there. It's worked out there's a Jet Direct printer. I click add, then I've got to go down to HP for the manufacturer, and then I have to pick the relevant print driver for my machine. Essentially picking the make and model. And that's printing setup. So hardware support is as good as it gets with Ubuntu. You don't get much better anywhere else. Down the left hand side is the traditional launch bar. We've got Firefox, Thunderbird for email, Rhythmbox for audio, we've got LibreOffice, we've got the App Center, and then if you click in the bottom left corner you get the rest of the applications, most of the GNOME applications. You have LibreOffice, the full LibreOffice suite, Ramina for remote desktop, Shotwell for photo management, you've got a video player, and if you want to you can group these things like you can in Android, so you can put all the Office tools together in one little box like that. So here is Rhythmbox. I'm going to show you a little bit about that. So let's find my music, and we're going to import that, and you can see how easy it is to import. You just click that copy button there after choosing the folder, and it will import all the music. Rhythmbox is as far as I'm concerned, the best audio player for Linux. You can create automatic playlists as I am here, so you can say where the genre contains, and for instance I'm going to put heavy metal, I think, and then you can limit it to the number of songs you want. You can limit it to an amount of time. You can add other things to limit it by. So I'm going to just do 10 songs and click new. I'm going to sort it by artist, click new, then you can name the playlist. Now this hasn't been overly successful, obviously my heavy metal music hasn't actually finished importing yet, so that hasn't worked. But if you want to create a new playlist, you can just click new playlist yourself, you give it a name, and then you go to the list of songs, and then you can just drag and drop them into your playlist. You can also do podcasts, so if you want Linux podcasts, you just go into podcasts, click add, do search on Linux, and there's a list of Linux podcasts. There's also radio stations, there's Last.fm and Libre FM. So Rhythmbox is a good addition for Ubuntu. Now video playing is the GNOME media player for this one, and all you have to do is add in your local videos. It does say you can add web videos as well, but we're going to do local for this thing, and these are my own videos, no issues with copyright. And if I click on this video here, it will start playing. No audio on this one, I haven't got the Bluetooth set up, but yes, that's playing now, and I can confirm there was no issues with video playing. As I said before, LibreOffice is installed, no issues with that, and it works perfectly well. So look, let's look at installing new software with the new software manager. It's much better than the old App Center from years ago. Ubuntu has moved forward in leaps and bounds in the last couple of years. Really is a good distribution. You see Kdenlive is there, OpenShot's there if you want to make videos. We've got new image manipulation package for creating artwork. Microsoft Edge isn't there, and neither is Chrome. So in fact I searched for Edge and then I searched for Microsoft Edge and it's not there. They are available. I think you just have to go and find them off the actual website themselves. And I've got an article coming out about Chrome and Chrome snap packages for the future. There is Chromium if you want the unbranded version of Chrome. There's no Vivaldi, but there is Brave. So there is a healthy choice of web browsers by default. The others will be available, you just have to go and find them online yourself. Spotify, there's a Spotify client, but you'll see later on that I did hit a slight hitch with this one. I'm going to install it now. And you'll see me install it, but when I run it, it's not going to work the first time. Steam is also available. And that's installing now in the background as well. If you go to this manage screen, you can see what's happening, you can see what updates are available, see what's installed, updated. Here's a list of some of the productivity suites you can install. Ubuntu is a really mature Linux distribution. Backgrounds, you can change the background, right clicking, do change background, and you can see there's a small selection of wallpapers available, and there's light and dark themes. I'm not sure about that image, but there's a few others. I quite like this one. And the other thing with Ubuntu is you can do certain things to the GNOME desktop. It's not the most customizable desktop in the world, but you can move that dock and you can make it smaller, so you can shrink it down so it just takes up the icon spaces. You can actually reduce the icon size as well if you so wish. Choose where it's displayed, and you can change the position on the screen to the bottom, which is something I like to do, and you can configure the dock behavior. You can set default applications, so you can choose which is your default web browser, mail program, calendar program, video player. Now this is the bit I'm going to show you the performance of Ubuntu. So if we go into the system monitor, you can see it's idling along at about 1.5 gigabytes of RAM. If we go to our applications we installed, Steam works perfectly well. So updates first. I'm not going to make you watch all that, we'll zoom past that, but there we are at the login screen for Steam. And then I'll show you the problem with Spotify. You'll see I click Spotify, nothing happens. You'll see I click Spotify again, nothing happens. So I've gone into the package manager, tried to click open from there, and then I've just decided to uninstall it. Now if Spotify is not working, there are other Spotify applications in the store. So there's the Qt version and there's a Spot by Alan Pope. So you can see me installing that one here, and this is an option, and you can see when I open it, it does bring up a Spotify client, but it's largely unofficial. I'm not sure if I trust logging into that, but it's in the store, so it should be okay. But I've just installed Spotify again, and this time it works okay. If I click open, you'll see Spotify will pop up. So it must have been a glitch with the initial installation of that there. So all in all, Ubuntu is at the top of its game. This is the best Ubuntu I think there's ever been. It's probably one of the best Linux distributions out there. Great for new users and the everyday Linux user. It's not for tinkerers. If you like messing around with your desktop and that, you're limited with your choices. But if you just want to get on with your computer and do your work, Ubuntu is one of the best distributions you can possibly use. So with that being said, that's the end of the review. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on Everyday Linux User.